Welcome to our deep dive all about Pompeii.
Pompeii.
You got it. But not just any ordinary discovery.
Uh-oh.
We are going to a newly unearthed thermal complex.
Oh, wow.
It's connected directly to a grand banquet hall.
Fancy.
Oh, yeah. This deep dive is brought to you by Simona Cochi.
Okay.
She's a leading digital journalist and cultural heritage expert, specializing in art digitalization. So thanks to her work,
Right.
we're able to kind of explore this incredible find in a lot of detail.
That's so cool.
What's really fascinating here is that it's not just about the what, it's about the why.
Exactly. Like, why is this significant?
Oh, why should we care as listeners?
Yeah, why should you care?
So imagine this,
Yeah.
a luxurious thermal complex,
Okay.
like almost a mini Greek world, right next door to a hall designed for massive elite feasts.
Wow.
It paints such a cool picture
Yeah.
of how Pompeii's elite lived and how they projected their power.
It really does. It's like stepping into a scene from Petronius's Satyricon. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Remember Trimalchio, that over-the-top Roman host? Throwing those extravagant banquets. Well, this suggests those weren't just fictional exaggerations.
So we're talking luxury, we're talking power.
Yeah.
What kind of information are we working with here to kind of back all this up?
So we have reports directly from the Archaeological Park of Pompeii,
Okay.
and they are filled with detailed excavation findings. Like, there are plans, there are descriptions,
Wow.
there are even inventories of objects that they found.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So it's really cool.
So it's not just speculation, then we're dealing with hard evidence.
Right. And to give us a wider perspective,
Okay.
we're also looking at analysis from Pompeii Sites, which is a leading digital platform
Gotcha.
for all things Pompeian archaeology.
All right, love play into it.
Let's go.
What are some of the key takeaways here? What makes this discovery such a big deal?
So this isn't just about some ancient spa
Right.
and a fancy dining room.
Yeah.
This complex reveals so much about Pompeii's elite, their social customs, their values.
How they displayed their status and their influence.
So it's like saying, come for the hot bath, stay for the intricate web of power dynamics.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
In Roman society, your personal life was not separate from your public image
Right.
or your political standing. These feasts were not just dinner parties.
Uh-huh.
They were tools to solidify alliances,
Okay.
showcase their influence.
It sounds almost like a high-stakes dinner party.
Yes.
With everyone vying for power and influence.
Precisely. And having a luxurious thermal complex right next door,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was a stroke of genius.
Yeah.
Think about it, a feast in the middle of winter,
Okay.
in a city with no central heating.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
A trip to the baths before dinner wasn't just a luxury, it was almost a necessity.
And get this, the Satyricon actually mentions Trimalchio
Oh, really?
and his guests visiting a back house before their feast.
Wow.
It's like fiction mirroring reality.
That's incredible.
I know, right?
It makes perfect sense, though.
It does.
I mean, in a city where homes weren't well heated, baths weren't just about hygiene, they were about warmth and comfort.
Okay. I'm officially intrigued.
Good.
Let's get a sense of this place.
Yeah.
What did they actually find? Take us on like a virtual tour.
Okay, so imagine walking through a grand entrance on the south side,
Okay.
and it leads you to a massive peristyle. Think of a grand colonnaded courtyard.
Wow.
This particular one spanned nearly the entire width of the block.
Wow. Talk about making an entrance. It sounds incredibly impressive.
It is. What else did they find?
So on the north side of this peristyle,
Okay.
there were several lavishly decorated rooms, including these grand reception halls called Ocis rooms, perfect for entertaining.
Oh, very nice.
And in one of them, the Corinthian Ocis, they found a massive wall painting,
Oh, wow.
a megalography.
Oh, what?
A megalography, it's just a really big painting,
Okay.
and it depicts still lifes of game fish and poultry, some hanging alive, some already butchered.
Oh,
It's like a visual feast alongside the actual feast.
Yeah.
That's amazing. They really spared no expense.
They didn't.
Where did they find the banquet hall in all of this?
So the banquet hall, along with the thermal complex, seems to have been a later addition,
Okay.
built around a second peristyle,
Takash.
probably around the end of the 1st century BC.
So this complex was expanding over time. That's really cool.
It is.
What can you tell us about this banquet hall? Was it just a large dining room or was there something more to it?
Let's just say this was no ordinary dining room.
Okay.
Room 24, the designated banquet hall, was massive.
Wow.
It was clearly designed to host a significant number of guests.
Okay.
What's fascinating is the level of detail and planning. They weren't just throwing a feast, they were orchestrating an experience.
I love it, orchestrating an experience. Tell me more about that. What made it so special?
Well, for one, there's the Black Salon, so-called, for its striking black walls decorated with scenes from the Trojan War.
Whoa,
Imagine dining surrounded by epic battle scenes.
that's incredible.
It is.
Were there any other unique features?
Absolutely. It had direct access to a western courtyard offering a refreshing view.
Nice.
And it was connected to the second peristyle through long corridors, including separate ones for guests and servants. This allowed for smooth service and minimal disruptions during the feast.
Wow, they really thought of everything.
They did.
It sounds like they were aiming for like a seamless and luxurious experience for their guests.
Exactly. They wanted to impress.
I'm already picturing myself as a guest at one of these feasts.
Ah.
But before I get too carried away, let's talk about the spa itself. How did the whole bathing sequence work?
The spa. The journey likely began in room 48, the apoditerium, or changing room.
Okay.
Accessed through a small door from the second peristyle, and here's something unusual. There were benches along all four walls of this room.
So even the changing room was a social space.
It seems that way.
These Romans really loved to mingle.
They did. What's interesting is that there were no niches for clothes.
Oh, interesting.
Just evidence suggesting shelves or racks were used instead. From the changing room, you'd move into the second peristyle, which also served as the frigidarium, the cold bath.
A cold bath, brr. That doesn't sound very relaxing to me.
Don't worry, it gets warmer.
Okay.
The frigidarium was a rectangular space with a marble-lined pool in the center, and you guessed it, even more frescoes on the walls.
Oh, come on.
And just like the changing room, it had benches lining the walls again, highlighting the social aspect of bathing.
So even in the baths, there was an element of socializing. Fascinating. What came next in the bathing sequence?
Next up was the tepidarium room 46, a smaller, warm room, perfect for acclimating your body before moving on to the grand finale.
I'm intrigued. The grand finale. What was that?
The caldarium, of course, the hot room, and arguably the most impressive of the three. It was room 44, and it featured an apse with an oculus that's a circular opening at the top, letting in natural light. There was also a rectangular niche and a rectangular marble-lined pool along the north wall. Sadly, this room was quite damaged by treasure hunters in the past, but enough remains to imagine its former grandeur.
Even with the damage, it sounds like a truly luxurious experience.
Yeah.
Was it common for Pompeian homes to have spas like this?
While Pompeii and Herculaneum had other bath complexes,
Right.
This one stands out at scale, and opulence set it apart.
It's like a modern-day status symbol, like having a pool or a home theater.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's something timeless about wanting to showcase your success, but there's another layer to this complex that I find fascinating.
Okay.
It seems that room 47, the peristyle doubling as the frigidarium, also functioned as a gymnasium. They found frescoes depicting athletes engaging in various sports. It's like they created their own mini Greek world within this Roman home.
A private spa, a grand banquet hall, and a gym. They really had it all, but how did they manage to keep a place like this running? The plumbing must have been incredible.
The plumbing is a whole other story, and trust me, it's impressive. Roman engineering was truly remarkable.
I'm all ears. Tell me everything. How did it work? Did they have Roman plumbers on speed dial?
Well, I'm sure they had their go-to people, but this was beyond a quick fix. This was a meticulously planned and executed system designed to provide a constant supply of hot and cold water throughout the entire complex. They were connected to one of Pompeii's water towers to ensure a steady flow of fresh water.
Wow, so they had a direct connection to the city's water supply. Amazing. What else did they find?
They uncovered this intricate network of lead pipes responsible for distributing water throughout the complex, but the real showstopper is the lead boiler. They found it in room 43, the Prefernium, and it's the only one of its kind discovered within Pompeii's city walls.
A lead boiler inside the city walls now. That's a rare find. Tell me more about it.
It was a marvel of engineering picture. A furnace, a cylindrical lead tank, all encased in brickwork. They even found evidence of careful maintenance and potential upgrades over time. It speaks volumes about the skill and ingenuity of Roman engineers.
It really highlights how advanced their technology was even back then.
Absolutely, and it wasn't just about functionality, it was about creating a truly immersive and luxurious experience.
It's incredible to think about all the work and planning that went into creating this complex. But what really brings it to life for me are the personal objects found throughout the rooms.
You're right, it's those little details that connect us to the past. These objects are like whispers from another time, offering glimpses into the daily lives of the people who lived and worked here.
I completely agree. What kind of objects are we talking about? Give us some examples.
Well, in room 41, they found delicate bone decorations and iron furniture feet suggesting elegant furnishings, and scattered throughout various locations were gaming pieces, perfume bottles, and even coins hinting at leisure activities and personal belongings.
So they weren't all business and politics. They knew how to have fun, too.
They did.
What else did they find?
There were also cooking pots and servingware, giving us clues about food preparation and dining customs, and of course, no Roman gathering would be complete without wine. They found amphorae, those large pottery jars used for storing wine in rooms 42 and 47.
It's amazing how these everyday objects can transport us back in time and help us connect with people who lived thousands of years ago.
It's truly remarkable.
This is already blowing my mind. And to think all of this was brought to light thanks to the work of Simona Cochi.
Yeah.
Her expertise in art digitalization has allowed us to explore this discovery in such detail.
It's groundbreaking work.
Before we move on, I have to ask, what stands out to you most about this discovery?
What's truly fascinating to me is how this complex blurs the lines between public and private life. It challenges our modern notions of privacy.
I see what you mean. The Romans didn't seem to have the same concept of separating their personal and public lives.
Exactly. Their homes were designed for entertaining, for conducting business, for showcasing their wealth and status to the world. This complex, with its grand banquet hall, luxurious baths, and even a gymnasium, was an extension of their public persona.
It was like a stage for their lives, carefully curated to impress and influence their guests.
Precisely. And that, I believe, is one of the most significant aspects of this discovery. It forces us to reconsider our assumptions about Roman society and their approach to public and private life.
This has been an incredible journey so far. We've gone from lavish banquets to ancient plumbing to the very concept of Romanitas.
And we've only just scratched the surface.
Stay tuned as we delve even deeper into the mysteries of Pompeii's grand gathering place in part 2 of our deep dives.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Pompeii's grand gathering place.
This complex is truly mind-blowing. It's a testament to the opulence and ingenuity of the Roman elite.
Indeed. But before we get lost in the grandeur, let's not forget about the people who kept this place running.
Oh, yeah.
The workers behind the scenes.
You're right. Who were these people? What can we learn about their lives?
While we may never know their names, we can glean some insights from the archaeological evidence. Remember those separate corridors for guests and servants we talked about? That meticulous planning suggests a dedicated staff working tirelessly to ensure a seamless experience for the elite.
It's fascinating to think about all the unseen hands that made this lavish lifestyle possible. What kind of tasks did they perform?
Well, in room 43, right next to the Praefurnium, they found traces of what appears to be a kitchen.
So a team of Roman chefs were busy preparing those elaborate meals we discussed.
It's highly likely, and based on what we know about Roman cuisine, they were probably skilled in preparing a wide array of dishes, meats, seafood, fresh produce, all seasoned with exotic spices and elaborate sauces. Remember that massive wall painting in the Corinthian Oikos?
Yes.
With all the game, fish, and poultry?
I do.
That might give us a clue as to what kind of delicacies graced their tables.
Now I'm getting hungry just thinking about it. But what about the thermal complex? Surely they needed a dedicated staff to maintain those baths as well.
Absolutely. Maintaining those baths would have been a full-time job.
Yeah.
Imagine the tasks involved stoking the furnace, cleaning the pools, ensuring a constant supply of hot and cold water. They may have even had masseurs or attendants to cater to the guests' every need.
It's incredible to think about the sheer manpower required to keep a place like this running smoothly. It really adds another dimension to our understanding of this complex and the lives of the people who lived and worked here.
It certainly does. It's a reminder that even the most grand and opulent structures were ultimately built and maintained by ordinary people. Their stories are just as important as those of the wealthy elite who enjoyed these luxuries.
I completely agree. It's the human element that makes history so compelling. But I'm curious, did the archaeologists find any evidence of how the complex was used in the days or weeks leading up to the eruption?
That's an excellent question, and it's something that archaeologists are still actively investigating.
Okay.
However, there are some intriguing clues. Remember, we mentioned that the complex was undergoing renovations at the time of the eruption.
Yeah.
Well, the presence of building materials, tools, and even personal belongings scattered throughout the rooms suggests that people were still using the space.
Oh, wow.
Even as Vesuvius was rumbling in the distance.
It's almost eerie to imagine going about your daily life completely unaware of the impending disaster. Do we know if they had any sense of what was about to happen?
It's impossible to say for sure. There had been earthquakes in the region prior to the eruption, so they may have sensed that something was amiss.
Okay.
But the sheer scale and force of the eruption would have been unimaginable.
It's a sobering reminder of the power of nature. But let's shift gears a bit and talk about the cultural significance of this complex. We've touched upon the social aspect. But what does this discovery tell us about Pompeian culture as a whole?
This complex is like a time capsule, offering a glimpse into the values and aspirations of Pompeian society. The emphasis on luxury, entertainment, and social status speaks volumes about their priorities. It seems they were a people who appreciated the finer things in life and understood the importance of social connections.
So it wasn't just about keeping up with the Joneses, it was about something more.
Precisely, the Romans, particularly the elite, were deeply invested in the idea of Romanitas,
Romans.
a sense of Roman identity and cultural superiority. And this complex, with its blend of Roman and Greek architectural elements, its lavish decorations, and its focus on leisure and entertainment, embodied that ideal.
It's fascinating how this complex reflects the cultural ideals of the time they were essentially showcasing their Roman identity to the world.
Exactly. But there's also an interesting connection to Greek culture here. Remember the gymnasium we discussed earlier?
Yeah.
That wasn't simply a random design choice. The Romans admired Greek culture, particularly their athleticism and intellectual pursuits. By incorporating these elements into their homes, they were paying homage to that heritage.
So it's a cultural blend, Roman grandeur with a touch of Greek refinement.
Precisely, and it reminds us that even the most powerful empires are influenced by the cultures they encounter. But what's particularly striking about this complex is how it blurs the lines between public and private life.
I'm intrigued. Can you elaborate on that?
Think about it, the Romans didn't have the same concept of privacy that we do today. Their homes were designed for entertaining, for conducting business, for showcasing their wealth and status to the world. This complex, with its grand banquet hall, luxurious baths, and gymnasium, was an extension of their public persona.
It wasn't just a place to relax and unwind. It was a stage for their lives, carefully crafted to impress and influence their guests. What a fascinating insight.
Indeed, and that stage was carefully designed to leave a lasting impression.
It makes you wonder what kind of conversations took place within those walls.
Right.
What deals were brokered, what alliances were forged.
We may never know for sure, but that's part of the allure of archaeology. It's about piecing together the fragments of the past and using our imagination to fill in the gaps.
Speaking of piecing together the past, let's talk about how this complex met its end. We know it was destroyed by the eruption of Vesuvius, but how did that destruction actually unfold?
That's a great question, and thankfully the archaeologists have been able to paint a fairly detailed picture of the complex's final days. It seems the destruction didn't happen all at once, but unfolded in stages, with the complex being subjected to a series of increasingly intense volcanic events.
I'm on the edge of my seat. Tell me more about these stages of destruction. What happened first?
The initial phase involved the eruption of pumice, those lightweight volcanic rock fragments.
Ah, yes. I've seen those at Pompeii.
Well, during the eruption, pumice rained down on Pompeii for hours.
Uh-huh.
Thankfully, the roof of the peristyle with its sloping design actually helped to channel most of this pumice towards the central courtyard,
Okay.
like a natural drainage system.
That's incredible. So the roof's design inadvertently protected the complex, at least initially.
Exactly. But as the eruption intensified, the sheer volume of pumice became overwhelming. It eventually started filling the courtyard and reaching the roofline of the surrounding portico.
Oh no, so even that clever design couldn't withstand the sheer force of the eruption.
Sadly, no. The weight of all that pumice began to take its toll. Archaeologists found evidence that sections of the roof started collapsing under the strain, sending tiles crashing down into the courtyard below.
What a terrifying sight that must have been. Were there any people still on the complex at this point?
That's a question that archaeologists are still debating. Some believe that most of the residents would have fled Pompeii during the earlier stages of the eruption.
That makes sense. It seems like the most logical course of action.
It does, however, some speculate that a few individuals may have remained behind, perhaps hoping to ride out the storm or protect their belongings.
It's a chilling thought. But even if they had stayed, there was worse to come, right? The eruption wasn't over.
You're absolutely right. The climax of the eruption came in the form of pyroclastic flows.
Pyroclastic flows.
Those superheated surges of gas and ash that raced down the slopes of Vesuvius at incredible speeds.
Pyroclastic flows, those are the really deadly ones, right? I remember reading about them. They can incinerate everything in their path.
Exactly. They can reach temperatures of over 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit and travel at hundreds of miles per hour. And unfortunately, this complex was right in the path of one of those devastating flows. It would have been a sudden and catastrophic end.
So the pyroclastic flow sealed the fate of the complex.
Mm.
It's hard to imagine anything surviving such an inferno.
It truly is. The intense heat and force of the flow would have caused any remaining roof sections to collapse, burying the entire courtyard and its surrounding rooms under a thick layer of ash and debris.
It's a tragic end to such a magnificent structure.
It is, but remarkably, some of the most delicate objects, including those stunning frescoes we talked about earlier, were preserved beneath the layers of ash.
Really?
That's one of the unique things about volcanic ash. It can act as a remarkable preservative.
That's incredible. It's like a silver lining to an otherwise devastating event.
It is, and it's thanks to that preservation that we're able to explore and understand this complex today.
This deep dive into Pompeii's grand gathering place is truly captivating. We've gone from marveling at its luxury to uncovering the lives of the people who work there to witnessing its tragic end.
And we've only just scratched the surface.
I can't wait to delve further. Stay tuned as we continue our journey through the remnants of this incredible complex in part 3 of our deep dive. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been on quite a journey exploring this incredible thermal complex and banquet hall in Pompeii.
Yeah,
It's really changed how we view the lives of the city's elite.
it has.
Like from lavish banquets to that state-of-the-art plumbing.
Yeah,
We've seen how they lived and projected their status.
absolutely. But for all its grandeur,
Yeah,
this complex ultimately met its end
right.
with the eruption of Vesuvius.
It's such a stark reminder
It is.
that even the most impressive creations are vulnerable
Yeah.
to the power of nature.
Absolutely a powerful lesson in the fragility of human life and the enduring force of the natural world.
Yeah, and yet amidst the destruction, there's also rediscovery. This complex lay buried for nearly 2,000 years, just waiting to be unearthed and to have its secrets revealed.
And its rediscovery has given us such an incredible glimpse into
Yeah.
a world we thought was lost forever.
It's a testament to the power of archaeology
It is.
and the dedication of experts like Simona Cochi,
Oh, yeah.
who has brought this discovery to light through her work in art digitalization.
Simona's work is truly invaluable.
It is.
Not only preserving these incredible finds for future generations, but also making them accessible to a global audience.
But this discovery isn't just about the past.
Right.
It also speaks to our present and perhaps even our future.
That's an interesting thought. How so?
Well, this complex, with its emphasis on luxury status and social connection,
Yeah.
reflects certain aspects of human nature that are just timeless.
I see your point, the desire to showcase our success,
Yeah.
to impress others, to connect with like-minded individuals.
Totally.
Those are desires that transcend time and culture.
Exactly, and it makes you wonder,
Yeah.
what will future archaeologists uncover about our society?
Uh-huh.
What will they make of our own cultural artifacts?
That's a fascinating question. I imagine they would be intrigued by our technology, our social media, our global interconnectedness.
I bet.
They might also wonder about our values, our priorities, the choices we made.
It's a humbling thought.
It is.
This discovery in Pompeii serves as a powerful reminder that we're all part of a larger historical narrative.
Absolutely. And that narrative is constantly being rewritten and reinterpreted as new discoveries come to light.
This deep dive has been an incredible journey.
It has.
We've explored the grandeur of this complex,
Mhm.
the secrets it held, and its ultimate fate.
And along the way, we've gained a deeper appreciation for the ingenuity, resilience, and enduring legacy of the people who called Pompeii home.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Pompeii's grand gathering place.
We hope you've enjoyed this exploration into the past.
We encourage you to continue your own exploration by checking out the links in the show notes, where you can find more information about this incredible discovery and the work of Simona Cochi. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the world of knowledge and discovery.